Sound is on. Now it is on. Whoops. Welcome, everybody. I think the sound was off on YouTube. Good morning, Patrick. Morning, Dad. Morning, Double R. Everyone's ready to hit some good learning in, maybe some good trades. You never know if they show up. And if not, everyone's just prepared to have a nice, solid day. Double R on YouTube. Yo, yo, yo. Okay, so I've switched the profile back into 2 ticks just so we can go over it real quick. If we need to switch it back, we will. The VIX is sitting right at 1955, so it's right there where, I mean, if you're on 2 ticks, it's probably fine. If it starts to get too much below 1E, then you're going to want to cut it out. Clipper, what's up, my man? Okay, so how the market opened today was very interesting. We can bring this in so we can give it a clearer look. Where's my pen at? Hello? There it is. I'm gonna find it. Okay. So the market actually opened up, and then pretty much just, hang out for a second and then just started going up, right? It came right up to our spike base, started hanging out, got a little bit of resistance. We can see B period actually opened up here and popped up. So when B period popped up, we didn't get any follow on volume, and it kind of fizzled out as soon as it took this overnight high. And so I actually got short here at 84. I shorted 84, and then on the way down shorted it again at 78 once we got below the settle. But the reason being is because we got all of this tempo on the way up, right? If you guys were watching, pretty much as soon as the market opened, it just kind of started just going up. And then once it got up here, all of a sudden, as soon as it hit that top, it came back and never checked back at all. Not even once. It literally just came up and was just like boom, and then started to hang out near the spike and the settle, and then started to flush hard. It was mainly just, having that experience and being ready. And, like you guys know, my trade plan, and I'll talk about my initial trade plan, was to use this as a resistance or a support, right? And that's why I added to my short once we got back below, because as soon as we gave that up, I was like, oh, this thing's probably going to go back down. We had a lot of single prints in the A period that we since closed in, and you can see we put in that poor low here. But it was just, and honestly, when I was shorting, I really was kind of just looking to see if somewhere in the spike buyers were going to show up. We have that prominent point of control right at that spike base, so I figured maybe from there. But with the velocity it started to come down, I was able to hold for a little while, so it was actually kind of nice. So sometimes the whole point of this, oh, Flying Pop, Lawrence and Family Channel, thanks guys, thanks for jumping on there. Morning Tommy, morning Jamie. Sometimes there's going to be opportunities that are going to try to convince you out of your trade plan, right? And then that's going to come up to your risk management or up to yourself, kind of where you decide, okay, is this trade going to be worth it, and what am I going to be giving up, right? And so I was actually able to get short, put my stop right at the top of B, because I knew if we got above there, we were probably going to keep running up to that 4,600, which is just right up there, a real psychological number. But I was targeting the low of the base, so I was probably giving like a 1.6 trade here and ended up turning in a little bit better. It's just the way that it faded, right? We always are trying to pay attention to tempo and volume. So when we did pop up here, we did get a little bit of volume increase here, but this volume increase, if you're watching, came on the backside. This was a offer. Some offer stepped down, sold the bid, and then just this thing's really started coming down fast. And it was also on the tail news of one of the Feds saying that balance sheet tightening could be starting as soon as next month. So not really the most bullish news, I guess, kind of hawkish news as they call it, leading into the Fed minutes that are going to be coming out tomorrow. And then continuation on down. We had that B period really start to push us down, got to that 50. We were kind of, I was watching that 55. We had the halfback 55.75 to 50 level. This is the level I kind of expected if we were going to get some buyers. This is where they would be. Below this, if we start spending a little bit of time below this, I really like that 26 level. You know, maybe this 42 level, we've seen some volume there yesterday. That's the open, so I'm not really counting that very much. But if we're able to get below that level, especially back into 2 days ago's range, there's some opportunity to the downside. As of right now, the safest bet, I guess, if I was going to be placing a bet, and let me drag this over so I can kind of explain a little bit more. I found this thing on here called social sentiment. So it basically tells you, you know, dimensions and stuff of whatever the underlying is. So if it's all over the social media, which is kind of cool. But so this is what I'm keying in on here. So look at Apple, and I'm keying in on a couple of these top stocks, but Apple being the main player. I put these alerts on yesterday. So this is yesterday's range. Apple had this big update. We're still inside that day. So depending upon if Apple is able to break this upside or if Apple breaks this low side, if Apple breaks this low side, the market's probably going to already be way down. But if Apple breaks the upside, I really don't want to be getting short just because Apple's been so strong lately. I'm also watching Tesla. Tesla's kind of in this little wedge, I guess this was called. I call it a triangle. I call it diagonal resistance is actually what I call it, because that's what it is, just diagonal resistance. People just playing a downward trend. So it's holding this trend. Tesla still has that gap below, and gaps don't always fill, but we can kind of see based off of history when Tesla does gap up, normally when it does come back through these gaps, it's pretty severe, right? It hasn't came through this gap, but I mean, it did kind of test that gap, and it didn't test that gap. So when it came through that gap, it really just came all the way through, filled it, then came back through. Here's another gap here, came straight through. You know what I mean? So it does, you know, it's very sporadic, but it's definitely something to watch. And then the other one that I'm watching here is Nvidia, and Nvidia came right down to the crack of this alert here. And I have two alerts on Nvidia because I'm actually looking for a play here, but it didn't break that previous day low, and or the 2 days ago's low, and it's in this kind of balance here, but it is downtrending. I don't even really count this as cessation of one time frame because it's only a couple of ticks above. And so these Nvidia and Tesla and Apple have been kind of our big winners as we've been heading on this way up, right? They've been doing the best. Apple was actually back to positive for the year. Let me pull up the FinViz so we can see the map a little bit easier. Value big content every day. Thank you, man. Here's the map. If we go year to date, you can see Apple's actually back to positive, Tesla's positive, Amazon's positive, Microsoft's lagging, Google's lagging. Nvidia, even though it is on a super uptrend, you know, it's been getting smacked lately, so it's back to negative. So this is just something to watch. You know, Apple, Nvidia, and Tesla being our three strongest. Amazon's doing okay. Amazon got clapped on some hard news and really just popped up because of the split. Hopefully everyone caught a piece of that. But the key here is to watch these three stocks, and if they start to fade, then the market's going to fade. That's just what's been the correlation lately. And so we've identified that correlation. So we track these correlations while we're trading. And this morning when we were making this high, Apple had already started rolling over. Watch this. So here's Apple. This is the where's going on here? Oh, I'm on the double R's UTC. Hang on, let me switch to my UTC. I was looking at your trades, and so I had to switch to your UTC so I could be in your chart pretty much. I'm in 7. Okay, so here we go. Here's the 630 candle, right? So that's the A candle, and then you see the B candle doesn't make a higher high doesn't make a higher high, and then really started to just roll over, right? Um, and it also, if we take a look at the quad, as my friend Peter Resnicek calls it, because it's his quad he made up, you can see I've changed my tick to a line. I'm just trying this. Don't be like, what's going on here? I change it to a line just to see if I can track the trend a little bit easier. But so you can see off that morning, so here's right till 10 o'clock, which is that second bar, the B period, you saw a big kind of spike in volume and then NYSE, but weighted sectors didn't really follow it, and then immediately followed by heavy selling. But you can see the tick from the open was just heading down the whole time. Even though the market was heading up, there was more selling happening than buying, right? And so this was kind of you know, a divergence or an inverse, and it was just, that with Apple, Tesla, and Nvidia all red when we were hitting on this way up. I was thinking, oh shit, I guess we might catch a little fade here, and then we ended up catching a little fade. The important part though is really the identification, right? Even if you weren't able to trade it, the first step is being able to identify something like that, and then from there is when you start to learn how to trade it and things like that. But the correlation and being able to identify that these things are out there um, to take advantage of, right? And if you don't have Thinkorswim, or you don't have the opportunity to get Thinkorswim, Tommy, one of our members, has created a very cool internals tracker for Thinkorswim, or for TradingView. So if you have TradingView, he's posted it in the thing. You can pull up his template, save it, customize it, whatever helps you a little bit. So when they announced that it could start as early as May, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to start selling bonds. It just means that they're not going to be buying bonds. I mean, they could start selling bonds as well, yeah, because they've been buying bonds like a fuckload, right? So they could start selling bonds, but what could be happening also, morning Peter, is um, they could be just not, they could just stop their buying of bonds, right? It could just be the end of them buying bonds, and then what will happen is you'll just start to see the growth slow. I actually am, I was, well, if you guys remember, we've been tracking TNX. It broke up today. That was another sign. I got the alert on TNX is breaking the high. Actually, I got this alert at like 3 a.m. I think it came through. Because I think the alert was actually here. It was maybe as soon, or maybe it was at 4 a.m. Maybe it was 5 a.m. So it was early. Whenever the market opened, it busted above. Actually, it was 2.5, so it must have been right here. Must have been. What else broke the high then? I got a couple of alerts today. Anyways, but this is the 10-year, and we've been tracking the 10-year. Actually traded the 10-year overnight last night, which worked out pretty good. Because we got a nice, rush, which we kind of expected with the market, right? It just made sense. And then as soon as they announce that they're going to stop buying bonds, bonds are going to dump. I was kind of getting in position in preparation for the Fed meeting tomorrow, and just kind of basically just setting myself up for that position. It was kind of a cheap position because the bonds didn't really move much yesterday, so I was able to get in there. Morning, Trin. Yeah, so it'll just depend on what they do in the market. Zelensky was on the news this morning as well, the Ukrainian president, and he was saying, uh, basically just about a bunch of terrible things that are going on in Ukraine, and that Putin's not really telling the truth, and he's kind of just he's still messing people up, and then in those corridors that they're supposedly letting people release from their shooting them. Kind of shit. But it is war, so I mean, war is kind of shitty. That kind of sucks, but it's unfortunate, but it happening. And it doesn't. I mean, that's where it comes in. Like, I don't see the de-escalation here. But let's see if they try to buy this again, right? There was big buyers down here at the 50, really from like this whole area, this 55, the half back, all the way down to the low. We saw a lot of buyers. What was interesting to me is on that C low, it was hard for me to tell if the buying was a bunch of shorts just covering after that emotional low, um, or if it was just, you know, a big buyer kind of stepped in and took that. Right? We still haven't broke that previous day's low. And if you look what's starting to form here, um, I mean, it's pretty early to tell, right? But it does look like we're getting a little bit of a B profile. So if this profile does start to just keep giving us this, right? Even as this next session opens up, uh if E doesn't break this top of D, we will probably end up breaking that C low and then looking to test that A low down 27, and then 25 is actually where I was looking to go. But if it does break it, what will end up happening is we'll probably end up getting a lot of rotation. Can you guys see that? Did I go red? I'm in a red sweatshirt today too. Red's my color apparently. Um, we could get a lot of rotation if we get this early cessation of one time framing and we keep forming this B profile. That's just going to tell us that we're just getting short covering. So every time we get down to the low, all these shorts that were short probably from overnight are just covering, and that's all the buying. And so what that can do, or I mean liquidation, all this is liquidation, my bad. All this is liquidation. So anytime it comes up, the selling is not real. It's just liquidation, right? We know that this push down was emotionally driven by the Fed statement. I don't know. I feel like we can't see that color either. We need a solid color that we can see. Just make it bigger. You know what I mean? So it's tough to assume, but what I'm thinking now is if this E session opens up and we get E here in about 16 minutes, about if E doesn't break this D high, then I think that C low is definitely going to get taken. Not saying that we are going to come back down to that 25, but there's just good odds, right? And then if E does take that D high, we can keep getting this rotation showing all these longs liquidate, right? So they're trying to get basically back up into yesterday's value. They start liquidating. It gets down here. We get short covering because the volume today is still not, nothing nothing significant really that's telling us that the market's going to fall off a cliff. And remember, we're still inside yesterday's range. So we had this kind of look above yesterday, didn't break out of it. Now we're back inside yesterday's value area for the most part. That's just a key sign that the market's going to be choppy and rotational. Yeah, Alex, we are. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's what we were going to do. So this Friday, we were going to do a meditation class. We can do it either before the market or after the market, whatever works for you, but um, or just let me know so we can make sure we set it up. I think meditation is important. Meditation is not always what you think it is if you're already kind of saying, fuck that, I'm not doing it. A lot of times meditation can be just, sitting there quietly. It doesn't have to be, cross-legged, eyes closed, imagining a babbling brook. It can just be beneficial and relax you, and which is important. And what I recommend too is, take notes when the class is going on and use some of these tools, and like we do with any tool is you learn how to use it the way that works for you, right? We use the same tools to build the house, you know, the hammer, nails, but I'm gonna swing a hammer different than Trin's gonna swing a hammer, right? And Trin's gonna swing a hammer different than, you know, Alex is gonna swing a hammer. It's just gonna be different, right? That's just how life is, right? And so you use some of these tools that we learn here to kind of set yourself up really. Close the shade real quick. I took a short right there, guys. If we take this low, I got short at 57. Because when you put all these tools in your tool belt, you know, sometimes you'll take a trade. Sometimes it's a good trade, but you got your adrenaline pumping, you got your blood flowing. Sometimes it's a bad trade, you know, same thing happens. And you know, that's just how it is sometimes. So if you have this tool in your tool belt, you're like, oh shit, I need to meditate, refocus, boom, you pull it out of your tool belt, use it real quick, put it back, boom, you're back on the chart, right? It's all good stuff to have in there, and you've got to learn how to use it all, which is actually um, a perfect segue into the first lesson of the boot camp, because that's the analogy that I use, is a tool belt, because it's a great analogy. All right, Alex, thank you. We'll see you on Friday. If you're tuning in on Twitch and Facebook, pop over to YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe. Turn on the bell. That will give you the notifications whenever we go live. I do try to share it in our Discord. And then I also try to share it on Facebook when I remember, but I almost never remember until after it's already over. So I could try it right now. Let's see. Share now. Boom. Remember, if you are part of the community, you know, try not to just invite people that are not here to learn, right? That's the whole goal of this is we're not here. I'm not here to try to give you signals. I'm here to try to help you learn the concept of the auction market theory and how it's displayed on the chart and understand the psychology behind your competition, which is the other traders that are trading, right? These are your competition. So if you can understand them, you can, you know, really take advantage of the situation here. We're still watching this 55 to 50 area as a spot for responsive buying. Right, this gives them that opportunity for responsive buying. So balance right now, or not balance, value we can see is basically the same as yesterday. Right, we just have value is unchanged. So what we can do now, for now, is draw our highs and lows. Right, our low is going to be the low of this day here. But that's going to be our range because the market is saying that this is good value, right? Again, the second day in a row. And so if this down here, you know, was rejected, and it was yesterday, as we test it, we don't want to be getting short down here. It's too late, right? We want to be getting short as we're, you know, fading the volume. You have the point of control almost in the same spot as the previous day as well. So, you know, does that make sense? And the volume is not, you know, volume is nothing spectacular. Let's take a peek at the volume real quick. Yeah, we can see volume's 500,000, so a little bit more than yesterday, but nothing nothing crazy. Let's see the option chain here. We can see again, it looks like we're getting people aggressively selling puts. Some puts are trading at the bid. So someone's moving down to sell these puts. Um, you know, it kind of looks like the calls are pretty even, but it looks like someone's selling puts now. We this days. Oh, I put it on to see what orders are coming through right now. Someone's buying puts, 470 puts. So they're buying in the money put. Oh no, they're buying out of the money puts there. But look, so people are buying at the money calls here. These are the ones you want to pay attention to. The ones that are at the money. That's what the highlighted means. It means they're at the money. Or in the money, I guess. 55's in the money now. So someone bought puts. So someone's running a spread here. But it looks like when you sell a put, you're actually getting long. So that's what it looks like to me that they're trying to do. And they were doing this yesterday. So, and that makes sense because we know so far as the profile is forming, it's looking like a B profile that's starting to form here as we get, we're 4 TPOs wide here, 3 TPOs down to the bottom, um, pretty much 2 up to the top from the C level. So, I mean, really draw the B from there if you want. But we know that these B profiles are longs liquidating. And so if we don't get any continuation, it's the same as a P profile, right? We get this rotation, P profile makes the market weak, it can break. Well, we know a B profile, if you don't get any continuation, all this short liquidity is not new liquidity, it's just longs taking profit. So it's not new shorts coming in, it's just shorts hitting that were already in the market. So our open interest is going down, and that normally causes a retest of the upside. I mean, it definitely could just hold all day though, because the volume's weak AF. Still watching Apple to see if Apple's going to break out of range too. It hasn't yet. Let's take a look at. We can take a look at Bitcoin too, real quick. Market's killing right now. Back at that 55. So we can see Bitcoin yesterday actually came down right into the area that we were looking to buy. We had talked about this in a nice rally, right back up to our upper balance, holds below, looks in again, and then shorts. This is initially where I wanted to take a short. Didn't. This happened. I wasn't paying attention, and then third opportunity, didn't get a chance. I'm just kind of afraid to short Bitcoin right now. I did take a long yesterday, but I didn't end up getting long until we got back into balance because I was kind of afraid of the low because it broke this lower trend. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it did rally real quick. Got some volume down here, so I kind of expecting it to come back down, but we'll see how how fast it comes down. Because yesterday this came down quick, literally stopped like almost to the tick on our level, and then just bounced right back up. Damn it. How do I get my pen back? And so that's going to be our area to watch down here today, this level again, to see that rejection, because it was a pretty quick rejection yesterday. Just put another one there for now. And I know people add triangles all over too, but it just seems like kind of a lot. But basically what we're looking for. Oh my goodness. It won't do it. Okay. But basically what we're looking for here is you're seeing someone just keep shorting all in this area, right? And they've kind of moved down into previous value. So now where this balance area is at is going to actually become resistance, and we've kind of seen it become resistance before. But this is one test, two tests, three tests back into balance and a rejection. So if this thing doesn't break this low here, I'm going to be looking just to get long as it comes back up above this 46,000, 46,500 level to take it in here, because I'm going to be targeting that 47. There's going to be opportunity there. Of course, the market sentiment's going to be coming into play, and that. Is there a beginner's guide to the TPO? There is. Yes, there is. It's called the 6 art market profile study guide. I'll give you the link right now. There's a link for you, my friend. And then also you can join our Discord. I post stuff in there all the time, and then, any questions or anything that you have, definitely don't feel afraid to ask them, right? It's a Discord full of people on all different levels, right? Not everyone in there is at the same advancement as everybody else. People progress quicker through learning. Some people take longer. It's just the fact of life. So don't feel like, oh, I don't want to ask a newbie question. Ask any question that you want. I literally love to help people learn new things, right? Because people don't do it enough. So if I can assist on that in any way, I'm in there. Sometimes to a fault too, because my wife's like, "Get off that." I'm like, people need help. What are we getting in the cryptoverse today? So it looks like everything's kind of just down a little bit. AVEX leading the way down. AVEX and Luna have been battling for that top spot lately on who's going to lead us down and who's going to take us up. Interesting to see, though, today that the market has come down a bit, and so has crypto. But when we really look at it, here's yesterday's low, here's today's low, yesterday's low, right down here. Here's today's low. So I wouldn't say anything kind of changed. It really just seems very, very similar. Apple's not looking like it's making any progress either. Apple's still one time framing down. Let's look at AMD. My uncle's probably trading AMD today. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're like the exact same. It was just one day where they were inversely trading, when the market started coming down, and then after that they just started, holding on to each other again. You're waiting for a pop. Laid it down. Nice. And my dad and my uncle both done for the day already. Nice. You're feeling the pop? Yeah, I think so. Like, that's kind of what it looks like. We have that poor low, but we haven't even really gone down. I'm really just waiting for this E period to open up. We got 1 minute or 1 second. Here we go. So let's see if E wants to take the low here of D. If it can't, they'll probably test that high of D. That weekly view ops right above. They might try to sell it up there at the 109.22 on AMD. See, look, they're having a little struggle fest down here trying to push this low. Oh, those were buy stops. Oh, this thing might go up. I'm looking at the DOM, and it looks like on those lows, like there was just I guess it was kind of worth. It looks like at the lows it was pretty much all selling or all trading on the bid. Is interesting. So absorption. Like this thing will pop. Got to get above. I mean, really, it's got to get above that 56, but 58 is going to be the key for it to get above here, and then target that 65. That 62 is that high, but that 65 is that C high. I'd like to see them get over 59 before I look for that high. It might be a quick trade. Try to get up to that 65. I just don't want to get long from right here. I mean, there is opportunity to put your stop at the E low, but you could still be wrong there. Could and still not break the D. Not getting the support up here that I like. Is it there? Doesn't. Okay, there's a pretty decent buyer right there. Nice. So this is a spot where sellers tried to sell before. If we get above this 59, they should be able to take it up to that C high. That'll be like the next challenge here. Of course, they'd have to break the 62 on the way, but everything's trading inside. Ooh, Yellen's going to deliver a speech on digital assets Thursday for Bitcoin. Oh, what for Bitcoin and Ethereum, it just said. You guys watched the national championship game last night or whatever it's called? Insane. Current trade is in the money. Yeah, I mean you've been killing AMD too, so. So look, we come right up to that 59 level. We got it. That's where you want to see the buyers. You want to see some initiated buying up here above this 59. But yeah, you're cutting out, TJ. Oh yeah, yeah. Right after it touched it, yeah, it did. Nice. All right. Hmm. Yeah. And it's cool because it's for the it's for the last 30 minutes. So even when the new bar starts, it still gives you, a little bit of that D bar, at least for the last 30 minutes of it. So as we, start coming up that bar, it's not you just see no volume where you have to compare it to this. It's like, okay, were they active 30 minutes ago in this period? Cool. That's awesome, man. Starting to see some buyers up here now too. Yeah. If we get an inside bar here, which is highly possible, is what it's looking at here. Because that auction is getting. I mean, we're still getting buyers up here, so there's still opportunity to take this D high. But if we just continue to get this inside bar, just remember when it does break to pay attention to continuation. So let's say if it does break down, right? If it breaks down, then all of a sudden you get a big response like that, like it gets a big bounce. mark that area and say, okay, this is where responsive buyers are at. And if we come back down and test that level and bounce again, then I know, okay, I'm not going to be shorting that. Let's look to see where they're going to step up to, get on board with them, and then try to ride it back into where the break was at, back into value, right? Where we know people value it. This is kind of where buyers stepped in last time at 55. This is just pure liquidation right here, is what it looks like to me. Like, it doesn't really look like strong selling. It just looks like everything is, people are just liquidating all their shit. We take the D low. Remember what I said, if we get that kind of spike down, pay attention for continuation. That's the biggest thing to monitor for here, is continuation. Apple's coming down now too. Apple's broken that the low of the day. But still not breaking the low of yesterday, so not yet. Looks like it's trying. The volume. Just struggling here. Ooh, puts are being, oh, that's Apple. People are buying puts on Apple right now. The dollar broke out today too, double R. If you're still looking at that. You said you have a tendency to overtrade. Set myself to 3 limits, 10 points profit, 5 points loss, or 5 trades. Yeah, that's a good thing to have. Definitely. See that response there, guys? We just bounced about 2 points off the low fairly quickly, and it kind of was a drag on the way to get down there. So now we want to pay attention to that 550 level. That's where it looks like the buyers are sitting here. It does look like it does look like responsive buying is what it looks like. The buyers are definitely more active. You know what this day looks like? It looks just like this day. Um, it looks like this. And look what happened. E broke the low, and it was a poor low for C and B. I mean, it's almost the same. That's what it looks like to me. There we go. Let's see if it's gonna break the low. Nope. Another poor low. D. Okay, there's another 2 point bounce off that low right there. Now let's see. Now let's watch the 550 level. This is where the buyer was at. So above the 550, you might see a little pop. But below this 550, like I said, there's not a lot of support down here either. So if there is a liquidation, it could come all the way down to this 26. That was kind of like what I was looking for. I'm just not going to be getting short from right here. See if they got the juice this time. Notice where we're getting a lot of the volume too. It's like, I mean, you can't really see it. Let me switch this one back to 1. So look here at this 200, 400, 600, 800, right? That's what Peter Resnick refers to as a taper. And normally a taper and then preceded with volume acts as support, and you know, the trade would be like up to 50 or something. I don't know. But like that's what's would kind of make sense. And you see we got above the 50, almost straight to the 52. Starting to get a little bit of volatility now. I'm not seeing any news though. Let me get Twitter real quick. It's starting to bounce. Flatten out here. I took a long off that 50 quarter, well, actually 50 and 50 50. So 50 quarter is my middle. Trying to let it work itself out because it does look like it wants to go test that 55 again, but I'm being really tight here because I don't want to give it all that space to the bottom. I'd rather just close the trade for break even. I mean, sellers are super active right here on the 52, it looks like. A lot of trades coming in at the bid. But price is not going down. So that's what makes me think like they want to go up there and find some more liquidity, and that's up at 55. Oh, do I puff? What's that mean? Do you puff? Trade bets. Any thoughts on the last month's close acting as support on Bitcoin? Let's take a peek at it, bro. Said the monthly. The market is bouncing up a little bit, guys. So, but we kind of expected that 55. The monthly time. You said the last month's close acting or I would, if anything, I mean that's kind of happening on the ES as well, actually. Um, I would just say that that's where value is at. You can see do a volume profile on these guys. Uh, most volume was actually down here, and then up at the top. But I mean, basically, what happens? We tested lower, and we were in this balance here, right? We tested lower, broke this high, and then just barely got above that previous high. I'm not even sure if that's above, to be honest with you. Oh, it is, yeah. So just barely broke above. And so now we're one time framing to the upside. So it makes sense on a pullback back into this range that you have the previous month's high or this month high, which is what, that's February. Then you have the March close. So there's a lot of support there, a lot of previous buying, right? And they've it just makes sense because it's easy to see, and that's, looks like to me at least that I've been kind of watching the charts, look like responsive buying. ES is popping back down to that 50 again here. If they can push it down. Bounce back up off that. But yeah, I mean, if we look at the ES, you can see something similar here, right? And it's just the same idea where you have a previous, I mean, we have these previous highs back here, and this is kind of where the auction ended, right? The close of the month is where the auction of the month ended. And so when the market comes back down to there, it gives responsive buyers an opportunity to be like, oh, hey, I want to be a buyer here because it's on sale, right? Because they saw it last month here. And same, we can go back to the Bitcoin chart. So they bought it, or the price went all the way up to here, but it just went up to 48. So that's a relatively new price in buyers' minds, that this thing was worth 48,000. So imagine that that someone just bought this computer monitor for $48,000, and you're getting a chance to buy it for $45,000, where people bought it last time. Other people bought it here before. You feel more confident, right? Maybe, oh, I can buy one here and then I'll sell it later for 48,000. Right? And that's kind of the psychology behind these traders buying these mechanical reference points. I wouldn't put as much of a mechanical quotation on it as I would like if it was on a 30-minute, right? Because traders that are trading off a larger time frame are not really worried about references like that. They're seeing that this thing is down $3,000. It's in an uptrend. This is an opportunity to buy it, right? That's what they do. That's what responsive buying is all about. So we're just hanging out down here. Longer that we hang out down here, the better the odds are that we break this low. We caught a little bit of a bounce, but it ended up dying a little bit below that 55. Wasn't able to take it. So this is where buyers bought last time. There's that 48, 50 level. We still see that kind of taper on the bottom, right? It's like 2, 4, 6, 9, 19. It's like pretty it seems pretty obvious that there's not extra selling coming in down here at the bottom. Not, and that doesn't mean that it can't break, right? Because we've seen the market go down because there's no buyers, and that's the reason the market goes down. There's no buyers. Now we have a buyer trapped up here at 50 quarter. Now let's see if we get some sellers active to try to break this low with this trap buyer. How much time do we have? 10 minutes till the next bar opens up. So this will be key right here. If they get back above 50 quarter right here, let's see if they can hold it. They don't hold it. They're trying. If they don't hold it, and this guy starts to cover his position, it was a pretty big, it was like 125 lot order. Yeah, they're stepping up. Still pretty weak though. Here he is, covered his position at 50. So someone bought 50 quarter, covered at a 50.75. So there's not a lot of confidence down here in these buyers. The longer we spend down here, better the odds that these people catch on to the same thing, and that this is not as advantageous as it was before during the B and the C period, and maybe they don't want to be a participant of it. But we keep not trading down to that those last three ticks in E, or last three ticks, and it keeps kind of popping back up above the 50. That's why we don't short at the bottom. Is there a second confluence with the 618 from the last local high to last month's close on BTC? Oh, there is some confluence. Thanks, man. Yeah. The 618. You know what I've been paying attention to a lot is actually the 44. Or let me see. Whoa. What just happened? Oh, my drawings came back. Which one is the Fibonacci? I've been paying attention to this 44. That See that 44, if you look, is almost like right at the top of this period right here. The 44 is like right here, 48 9, which is actually my target's actually the top of this balance zone. So if we zoom in, there they go. They're gonna break the low now. Watch the impulse. And so now we know if they get above 55 again, so if you're looking to get long and wanting to stay patient, if they get back above this 55, that short covering will really start to unravel. Remember, we're one time framing down still. So if you are taking long, remember it's a fade and you've got to be in and out quick. You can't be, trying to hope and pray and just assume that it's going to go. But yeah, so I'm looking for this here. If I'd like to see Bitcoin catch some support here. Really, I don't want to see it go back below 50 or 45,000, but once it comes back up into this value, even if it doesn't, if it just starts to break the high of this value, I'd like to get long, and I'm going to target that 47. I think that might be the target here. But if the market keeps going down, Bitcoin's going to probably struggle to go up as well. So that's going to have to be taken into effect. Oh, is it Elliott wave analysis, a reliable zone of target? Yeah, one of our members, Alex, has been doing it on all kinds of crypto trades, and he's been just nailing it. But watch the 47 here. If we get back below that 47 and start getting an increase in volume again, might see some continuation, but we came right to a previous high and then bounce. It seems to be pretty mechanical buying off of that high for now. And remember, just because we see these mechanical levels, that doesn't mean that the odds are that they're going to break right this second. It just means that they are weak references. So the next time that we get near them, there's good odds that they don't hold again, right? Because they are shorter term traders, right? Shorter term traders tend not to care about um, holding the line. They just want to make a buck. And sometimes they just want to make a nickel. They don't even care. It's just there it goes. Right, so low, a little bit of buying, mechanical, should keep going. Area I'd like to see be like 44 quarter could be a spot. I mean, this could be a quick ride down to the 26 level from the trade plan. So it's just such like a, all these bounces, all these rebounds that we're seeing are not really giving us very much confidence to hold on to shorts. You know what I mean? I've been taking very quick trades today. What do we got? 2 minutes until the next period opens up. See if we're gonna open up with singles or not as well. That can sometimes be a little bit of a tell. We open up on singles and close them quick, it'll just kind of show you weakness in the selling. If we, open up on singles and don't close them, it'll show you the weakness in the buying. And I still am not like a huge believer in like the selling that's going on. It's really just to me is what it looks like. It's mostly just people closing out positions. Because you still have people buying puts or selling puts. But there's some people buying, I'm buying calls. And it's pretty even on the call side. Not really a good just to watch on the futures though, because the futures options are kind of uh biased. We got 15 seconds till this next period opens up. New period opens up, pour low. So close those singles right away. That just shows you that the selling is not as strong as it looks on the chart, at least, right? People see that E period and they're like, "Oh man, this thing's selling off." And I mean, it's pushing down. We've come down from that E high about what's this 60 to 45, about 15 points here. Um, which is, I mean, which is a lot, but in uh in reality, lately it's really not that much. Here we go. There's those stops. So watch the 41 for a bit of a reaction, but then really below that, maybe 37. Yeah, it's just a struggle fest for these sellers to really sell this thing down. That's really just, kind of what's going on. Volume is 666,000, marking the beast over there. So 44.50 is the area where sellers got super busy. And if it gets above that 44.50 by too much, we might see a little bit of short covering. So if you're in a short, just watch that 44.50 level to be reoffered. So they should try to sell it again. If they don't try to sell it again, then look to cover some of that short. Trade bit volatility looked. Yeah, I don't. It The thing is, Flipper, it's so hard to decide because I really do think that previous low was like the January 24th low, um, was a solid low. Where's this? Uh, 24th. I thought this was, yeah, I thought this was, pretty solid low, and it's still been holding for now. But this low was caused actually February 22nd. I don't know, was it 24th? Yeah, 24th. This was the day that Russia invaded Ukraine. And so what's kind of happening is I think uh it was pretty much destined to get this breakout, but with this geopolitical issue going on, it's going to be tough. And so it's really hard to be like, okay, I think the low is in because of that issue. Any escalation can really, hurt the market. And so it's tough to just kind of abandon all cause and be like, you know what, the low's in. And I mean, it's just not really my style, to be honest with you, too. I'm more of an intraday trader, sometimes swing trading, but I don't really look to hold um, crypto for a long period of time. So they reoffered that 44 there. See if they offer it again. Nope. Covered. If we stay above this 44.50, it could see a bit of short covering, like I said, just because that's where the big seller decided to try to push. Oh, there's a gap on the Nasdaq. Oh, okay, yeah. But the Nasdaq can go down and close the gap without the ES going down, like we saw yesterday. The Nasdaq was way up, and the ES wasn't, and the Dow wasn't. And the Nasdaq today is down about a percent, one and two or three quarters percent, and then 61 or 61.61% for the ES. Oil's still doing pretty well too. We did have a little bit of break of that trend down there. Crazy. Coming down to its VWAP. we would like to see what would be good for the market. Yeah, you see there's that little bounce. It just made sense because you saw all this volume come in right here, and the 44 quarter is where that seller was getting busy. We saw everything come through trading on the bid, and then well, I saw it on the DOM that was trading to the bid, and then put it up. But for oil, you we'd like to see it get crushed underneath of this. If it does bounce off this weekly view up, we'd like to see it get crushed here to go down if we're looking for the market to go up here. Back up to that 48 50 to 55.50 level. 5 contracts straight on that level. Someone tweeted, Elon Musk's 10% ownership does not run a company. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, Clipper. It could be um setting up a reversal. Yeah. And I mean, I was pretty bearish last week. I didn't trade very bearish, but I was bearish. Like I just had a feeling of bearishness, and then on Friday I just had that gut feeling of like this thing's gonna go up. And so we just traded it up. But I still think that there's just there's so much going on that it's hard to just be like now's the time to buy the market, right? The market just got done dropping like 15%, and yeah, it's bouncing, but not everywhere, right? It's not bouncing everywhere. You've basically just been kind of getting dragged around the uh by tech, right? And then energy's held us up a couple days because it's been so green. um we're back up on the VIX. Oh yeah, back up above 20. All right, let's see. Yeah, it did right to the tick. Yeah, good eye. Yeah, that's that 41. There was a lot of buying there yesterday, also, right off the open. So let's see. Now they're trapped 48 to 44 quarter was our level, right? 44 quarter. That or 44.50 was the level. So 44.50 to 48.50 pretty much. Above 48.50 takes you, I mean, back up to that 50.50, and then 50.50 takes you up to 55. Kind of just little chunks on the way up because it's just been, liquidation for the most part. But now we're getting some continuation, so we're knowing that we're seeing a little bit of fear here. Let's watch this 48.75 level to see if they can backfill this a little bit. But we're starting to see a little bit of fear here in the market. Did Elon reinstate Trump's Twitter? No fucking shit. No. Hang on, I'm looking it up. So we're still watching that 48.75 level for the reaction here, guys. Is that real? No, it's not real. Okay. Nipped in my labels, but the F bounced exactly off the prior day's last. So that would be no, I don't mark that level. No. I'm only looking at the settle in the last from the current day. I don't even look at the previous day settle or the last. Too many references can um make you see too much, because it can make you zoom in too much is what I mean. So like if you're if if we're if we're focused on, you know, all these levels, let's say this the settle or the last, I think the last was like right here, um or maybe the last was up here. But like if you've got all these levels just everywhere off your chart, you're like, okay, this mechanical, this mechanical, this mechanical. And so then you're thinking, okay, you know, and it can just kind of overwhelm you when in reality we're really just trying to pay attention to value. That's the main goal, and then trying to understand the psychology of what people are thinking in the market today. Like today we think that well, today I think that most of the selling is just caused by liquidation from the people that bought yesterday, and then the Fed meeting is tomorrow, so it makes sense. They don't want to be too long. Um, you know, that's just not great for them. But we have overlapping value here, overlapping to lower now. So now that makes us focus in even more on the low side, for me at least. And also we're below our spike, right? I mean, there's other key factors, but if we have these levels, it can kind of overwhelm too much, right? Let's say this is a mechanical high, and this is a mechanical high, and then this is a mechanical high, and then you were one time framing down, but you're thinking like, oh shit, this is weak. Like I need to start getting long, and then you start getting long, long, long. Eventually, this thing liquidates, and you look at your trade plan. It's like short below the spike, long above the spike, and you're like, well, what the fuck did I do? I'm trading against my trade plan. I know, long story short, but that's why I don't mark all that extra shit, because it just fucks me up. And that's just me. If it can help you, then mark it. But for me, it just drives me mental. So then I can't do it. But I mean, there is I really do believe there is opportunity off all of those levels. So if you can get really fast, like and that's another thing. I'm not very fast when it comes to um you know, like scalping. I'm not really a scalper. It's just not my thing. I just haven't practiced it enough to be good at it, because I just don't. I think it's too much stress. But there is opportunity off stuff like that. So like this, let's say this FI, you were saying this FI was the T2 last or the settle. That would be opportunity right there. You would be like boom short as soon as it hits that, and then you'd just be looking to take a point or two and then close. And then if it, you know, if this thing ticks against you, or if you don't see an immediate reaction off that level, you hit the flat. Right, that's how these guys are doing that. But a lot of times they're using buttons. So if you don't have all your buttons set up, it's kind of different. Like you can get like I have a Stream Deck that has the buttons on it, or you can get like a special keyboard that has like an extra row of buttons above the F buttons. You can set hotkeys, but even then, hotkeys are still not as fast as they need to be, because if you have to press three keys, sometimes you need to press one key. Right? I need this one key to be a fucking an ender, right? So I try to trade level to level, and we can actually go through the trade plan. I once I figure out how to do like a quick record, I'd like to just record the trade plan every day. Um, but so like we'll just kind of zip through most of this because it's not really that important. But I want to just keep the profile up, and then we can kind of scroll back to see um, the plan. So basically, the plan was to be short below the spike, long above the spike. Ended up getting short above the spike, but we know there's a different story why. Um, but in reality, I'm just looking to trade it level to level. So I'd like to get short below this spike base if we see it act as resistance, and I'm looking to trade it to here, well, I think I was looking for 55. Um, but the reason that I was looking for 55, one, it's a mechanical number, and 50 is very, 45, 50, very easy to see. 56 was half back, but this was also the impulse. So whenever we did have pullbacks yesterday, this was kind of where it pulled back to. And so it made sense to me that if we aren't able to get up, so that if this thing is exploring upper price and gets rejected, well, that's where it's going to pull back to, because that's where buyers were at yesterday. And so with this being value, and responsive buyers normally buy on the low end of value, right? Responsive sellers sell on the high end of value. But with this being value, especially in established value from the previous day, not just developing from the current day, so it's established, responsive buyers get the opportunity to buy right here. And they did initially. We're below that now, but they did initially buy right here, and the market did rebound a little bit. And so if we miss that opportunity, right? That was kind of the plan. I was looking to see if we don't have these sharp V bounces, and I'll pull up that and see. And this was every time we've come down, we've come up. Come down, we've come up. Come down, we've come up. So we're making these strong V bounces. So if we don't continue to see higher highs, then there's good odds that we trade back down to the low end of uh this range, because we're in this 2 month balance. This is a 2 month balance range high. It's also the February high. Here's the low of range, because, or the March high, because it's the March low, and then our balance low is at the bottom, and we also have diagonal support at that same spot. So it would make sense to trade back down into this, if we don't get that continuation. And then, so like I was saying, if you miss, let's say initially off of the open, we come down, where we actually came up and then we came down. So C period opened up here and then came up. These are the things you're looking for, right? Because we know that this is going to act as resistance. So we're looking to see, is on the way up, are buyers still moving up, or are they starting to fade? And you can kind of see we have this really weak spot right here where buying shut off, and yeah, got an opportunity to fade. And then as the day develops, what I'm looking for is to trying to figure out who's being more active, right? And so one thing we can do to try to figure out who's being more active, um, responsive buyers, responsive sellers, initiated selling, initiated buying, is to try to see, compare it to yesterday's value. And so when we did bounce, where did we bounce from? Well, bounced from here, and that was kind of the low of yesterday's value. So it was responsive buying, right? Brought us back up to that 60. Like I said, they were buying in here, really the 50. This was kind of short covering here. Buyers stepped in here, pushed it up, and then started to sell out here, and then we got that push down. But as we're starting to develop this B, that's what I'm trying to understand. Okay, so what is value doing today? Value's overlapping, and then we started shifting lower, and then we started to just rotate. So okay, I'm thinking, what's the next? What are the next steps? What are the possibilities? And that's when we start talking about the E, right? If E breaks the top of D, good chance we get rotational. If E breaks the D low, there's a good chance it takes the C low. What we wanted to do is watch if there's a spike down to the bottom side and it recovers quickly. And it did, but then it got faded off. And we continue this one time framing here. And so those are kind of, I guess, just a quick run through of the thoughts that are going through my head from the beginning of the day until right now, as I'm looking to trade this. But does that help at all? Like that kind of helps you like see what we're looking for as the market's unfolding, right? Or as the auction's processing. Exactly. Right. And what can cause you to change your mind from here is a cessation of one time framing. But that's exactly right. A lot of times, and I've figured it out that exact same thing or come to that exact same conclusion. A lot of times on the day where I trade poorly, I look back and I'm looking at my trades and I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucking getting long while we're one time framing down. What am I doing? So right. Yeah, I mean, and we even have a mechanical E high, right? Right off the half back, or right off the open of the D period. But that's the thing, it's just, and then the E open is right on half back as well. And we even saw like some nice tapering in that E period. You saw some nice tapering. It looked like it wanted to bounce, and then they just quit it, right? They bought a little bit, and then they're like, yeah, that's it. And tech's getting crushed right now. It's the Nasdaq's down like 2%. So the Nasdaq's just kind of dragging the market down right now. Still seeing some volume in. Look at that 1143 right at that second level there. This one's on one tick, and these ones are on two ticks. That's why it's like that. I'm looking at the news here, just trying to see. I wonder if James sold his Facebook. I talked to him yesterday. Told him to. He smacked. Trying to warm my hands up. My hands are cold. Oh yeah, like 800 lots on that 33. There's some buyers stepping up right here. It looks like. Um, I cover right here. Kind of getting scared. It came right down to that 37 though. 7 quarter. That there was a bunch of volume down here. See from that previous day, that 37, actually 37 quarter, but making me nervous about my short now. Right, and you're paying attention to values and where values forming. All right, thanks, Anton. Yeah, thanks for showing up. Awesome, glad to have you. But yeah, I mean, we're paying attention to value and where value is trying to go, and we understand like the cycles of the market here. So we've got, remember our circle, we got value and balance, and then excess, and then imbalance, and then this is basically 10, maybe 10 to 20% of the time spent in excess and imbalance. Everything else is spent in value and balance. And so as we're trading into value from that previous day, which is basically right here, that's that value area high, which is probably, good observation of why people bought it right there. The previous day, as it's trying to come down in here, is it doing a good job and getting accepted down here, or is it getting rejected in this value? And if it gets rejected in value, we know this is going to be the range, right? We have developing value today, but we have a value area here and below, and then a value area up here and above. And as the market gets into this imbalance, we see where one time framing starting that imbalance, is it going to get accepted down here, right? And then the next level down, the reason I picked that 25 levels, because if it does, that's where it looks like it wants to go, which happens to be like a previous, the 26 26 quarter is a previous day's low, and then you have a that's the TPO point of control right here. I like 45.25 because it's just easier. I think 45.25 sounds better than 45.26. That's why I picked it. And that's honesty right there. Like I really picked that level because of how it sounds. Right? And that's like because I'm thinking about the psychology of the market. And if it's going to go somewhere, I feel like yeah, 45.26 is the point of control, 45.26.50, but 45.25 seems like an easy spot for people to be like, "Oh, I could buy that." Yeah, yeah. So if that's where I'm thinking people are going to buy, that's where I want to sell it. Well, that's why I'll be buying it back, I guess. But I mean, we can see the tempo, right, on this downside too, and that's why I'm not so convinced of my downside thesis is because why haven't we broken yesterday's low? If we had some real tempo, we should have just there's I mean there's really honestly no support here. There's a little bit of buying, a little bit of buying, but when we broke that 50, I mean that 48.50 was the big ticket, and then someone offered that 44 quarter, but there's really nothing down here comparatively, not recent at least. So it would make sense for them to push down here. I'm just not getting too convinced that the selling is so strong that it's going to start running, maybe down to our 3-day balance high, and then our 200 SMA is way down there. Sellers are just doing a shitty job in convincing us that we want to be piling in short, right? Like to try a breakout trade. There's just not a chance really in hell that I'm trying. I mean, this one actually might work because A low is pretty close, but I'm just not willing to try to get short right here at the lows. I just don't trust the breakout here today. Look at the volume. Volume 721,000. Still pretty weak. 3% increase from the previous day. Yeah, for real, it has been doing that. It's been pretty nice, pretty easy to trade, to be honest. Because you just I mean, that's a key is I trying to identify that trend early and then just identifying support using market structure and just getting on board. It's tough to combat your own personal feelings, even if you don't feel like you're biased. That's why it's important after every trade to write it down. Take a refresh. When you're writing something down, typically you have to look away from the screen for at least a couple of seconds, and that can kind of reset your vision. But it's tough. Oh, go ahead. Right. But then once you notice it, then you start noticing it going forward, and you're like, all right, now I know what to look for. Because and that's what I mean by like nothing can beat the time and experience on the charts. And I tell people screen time is so important. Screen time is so important because it really is. Because once you've seen that trick before, you know what I mean. You know what to expect. It's like the first time your dad's like, "Here, go deep," and he throws a fake pass and he holds the ball behind his back and he goes, "Go get it," and you're like, "I can't find it." Right? Same idea. The market tries to do it to you again, and you're like, "Oh, behind your back, motherfucker, give it up." Exactly. Just like, yeah, exactly. God, that's such a good outlook because it just like anything that you want to be an expert at, it's gonna take time. You know, like we were talking about expert take becoming an expert takes, 10,000 hours or something like that. Um, you can't just expect to get on the chart and learn all the concepts and the principles of the TPO. And, I'm not going to be able to teach you everything that I've learned. It's just not, uh, it's just not possible because like some of these things that I've learned are like natural reflexes. I've seen them on the chart because I have so much chart time that I know how to react to them, and it's tough to bring it up unless it's happening right then. You know what I mean? I'd really like to replay today, to talk about this B high because I was able to get short up there, and it was just because of previous experience on breakouts. That was just a failed breakout, and it was kind of easy to see. But over time, really, and it's like, and also another thing too, especially when people get into futures and stocks and things like that, is they they assume that because they've seen this guy's Facebook post before about him making 10,000% and whatnot, that uh they can do it. You know what I mean? And it's not that easy. And they don't use the tools that they have. There's sim trading, there's replay, I mean there's all of these things that they have available to practice with, but they don't want to practice. They're like, hey, CC Sabathia, let's see that curveball, right? And then they get struck out, and they're like, well, shit, I'm using fucking A Rod's bat. How come I struck out? Well, you don't know how to swing it. That's your problem. So, I mean, I think that honestly, TJ might be the most important thing that you've just identified. Understanding that it's gonna take time no matter what. No matter if you're uh I mean anybody. It took me time. It's gonna take everyone time, right? My dad is catching on freakishly fast. Um, but he's been utilizing the tools, and my dad had no experience with the market, so I got to just basically download the information that I wanted him to have inside of his brain. Like this is the only information that matters. So no bad habits to break he didn't have. So that's helping him, I think, as well. But I mean, he's the same way as you. Like he understands that it's not going to just be like that. Yeah. Oh, exactly. And then once they start becoming quick and easy, that's what starts to make people lose. You know what I mean? You have some of these families in the United States. I was looking at this thing about like the wealth in the United States. Um, and you have some of these older families. Let me see if I can find it again. It it was on a YouTube. If I can find it on YouTube. Um, America. It was like a chart basically. But anyways, it was like showing some of these names, and um, naturally, I wanted to see like what these families had done, and some of them had started off. Well, a lot of the families were immigrant families that got rich because they came here and they worked hard, and then you started to see their family wealth start to lay off, and that's probably because their, you know, further generations started to get things handed to them, and didn't understand that it takes hard work to make a buck. I mean, sometimes you can make a buck easy, but a lot of the times you don't see any of that backdoor stuff, right? Like a lot of people don't see how much time I actually spend digging into shit on the charts to be able to trade well. You know what I mean? I do spend a lot of time on the computer, just a matter of fact, but that's because I mean I take it like Kobe, right? Kobe spent a lot of time in the gym shooting shots, and I mean he's one of the best, and that's the reason. And like my boy Jim Dalton always says, the early bird gets the worm, so don't be a worm. Like I honestly think that even if you don't trade the open, or even if you don't trade the first part of the market, because it is a little bit um, more volatile, you could definitely get clapped pretty easily in the beginning. You should still watch it, because that's where all the volume's at, and that can give you an idea of where that stuff is coming from. Maybe it was my company. I'm trying to find that video still. D high is kind of mechanical right off that F half back. Oh, this is a bunch of videos about like wealth inequality. We know that. Make a video back, so we write it in the dictionary. Oh, I can't find it. Damn it. Yeah, I mean, still something like you know I teach my kids too. Like we've got enough money for them to have their own cell phones and all this other fancy shit. Could buy them clothes at the Gap if I wanted to, but there's no point because they fucking grow out of it in like 10 days and then it just goes in the trash. I buy their clothes at Walmart, right? I buy my clothes at Walmart too because I just wear the same thing every single day. White t-shirt, basketball shorts, and shoes. I spend money on shoes because taking care of your feet is something that's very important. But for kids, like, I mean, especially boys, they'll just fucking wreck a pair. I mean, when I was a kid, I would wreck a pair of shoes in like a month. So my parents got smart early. And then when skateboard shoes finally came out, that's when my parents were like, "Oh, thank God," because they just had so much cloth on them, they lasted forever. But I wore Shack Attacks for a long time as a kid, and I got made fun of a lot for it too, because they were from Walmart. But I love Shack, so good fuck. Exactly, exactly. Like that's the thing, and it's crazy because a lot of these companies are designed for they're designed to get you to be in debt, to go just out of your limits to to be showy, right? Oh, I got a Louis Vuitton purse, right? Well, it's like, well, if you were rich, you wouldn't have a Louis Vuitton purse. That's for like, that's for normal people, not rich people. Rich people, I don't know what the next step up is, but I'm sure there's one that's much more expensive. Yeah, exactly, double R, yeah. And that's another thing people don't pay attention to. They're so worried about the dollar amount gained, but if you bet $1 and you get $2, that's 100% gain. That's a crazy gain, right? A lot of people are like, not worth it. I'll take that bet every single day, right? If that bet is guaranteed, if I'm guaranteed to double my money every single day, right? And you're betting, let's say, to 100 times your money, but it only hits, you know, randomly. Which one do you want to take? Do you want to take my dollar over time, or do you want to take your opportunity to make 10,000 times your money in one day? But the thing is, you've got to have that $100 every single day to bet, and eventually those hundreds of dollars that you bet every single day to make that $1 million, they run out. So if you run out of money before you get there, what can you do, right? And that's that quote that I put in uh um from Uncle Answers. Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, that's savage. Nice, Uncle Stacy. Finish screen for the day. So here's that. This is what I was talking about. And I can even play it on here because I don't have not monetized. I just have to share this sound. Share the sound for you guys. Um, well, I mean we don't really need to share the sound. We'll just read it. I just like this song, so I wanted to listen to it. Um, but basically, in verse 2, he says, "Pray for all of y'all. Hope you never lose your goals. Market's volatile. Don't be afraid to take it slow. Because how's it possible to make the money if you're broke? Oops. The mind's the obstacle, the strangest secret that you know." And he's referencing that book, the strangest secret in the world. And if you haven't read that, get your shit together and read it. But I mean, it's such a good quote, because how's it possible to make the money if you're broke? That's a thing. And like I said, we have these tools here. You have the opportunity to trade the sim, then you have the opportunity to trade the MES. You have the opportunity to lever up on the MES, right? To add more contracts at the MES, and then you have the opportunity to step into the the major leagues and play on the ES, right? But if you have the opportunity to come up through through all these levels, don't be afraid to use those opportunities, right? Not everyone has to be LeBron and come to the NBA right out of college. Shaq, or right out of high school, Shaq went to college. So you just need 9 suckers with a lot of money. See the tempo really starting to slow here. So if let me check the volume quick. If volume's at 749, if we do start getting rotations up, there's a good chance that FI gets taken out and we start to just rotate, because it's so weak that they couldn't break that low. But we've seen liquidation, so I'm obviously not just going to get long and close my eyes here. For those that are watching on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, thank you for watching. If you want to be more active in the chat, jump over to YouTube and like and subscribe. Turn on your notification bell, and you'll get updated. Remember, we are a community of people that are here trying to learn. So if you are a little bit more advanced but you're new, don't start belittling people in the Discord or smack talking. I'm not really a fan of it. So I'll just mute your ass for a while, and then yeah, The Strangest Secret in the World by Earl Nightingale. Yeah, it's like 40 minutes long or something. It's on YouTube. I'll pull it up right here. It's crazy to listen to. We could listen to it together for a second while I work out. I could listen to it while I work out. I don't mind. What time is it? It's almost 10 o'clock. Daily listening. Like, I mean, this is something that it wants you to listen to every day. Said you got to get your shit together. Good. That's where it starts out, right? Let me see. Share sound. Share the sound. 30 minutes.
All you've got to do is plant that seed in your mind, care for it, work steadily toward your goal, and it will become a reality. It not only will, there's no way that it cannot. You see, that's a law, like the laws of Sir Isaac Newton, the laws of gravity. If you get on top of a building and jump off, you'll always go down, you'll never go up, and it's the same with all the other laws of nature. They always work. They're inflexible. Think about your goal in a relaxed, positive way. Picture yourself in your mind's eye as having already achieved this goal. See yourself doing the things you will be doing when you've reached your goal. Ours has been called the phenobarbital age, the age of ulcers and nervous breakdowns and tranquilizers. At a time when medical research has raised us to a new plateau of good health and longevity, far too many of us worry ourselves into an early grave trying to cope with things in our own little personal ways without learning a few great laws that will take care of everything for us. These things we bring on ourselves through our habitual way of thinking. Every one of us is the sum total of his own thoughts. He is where he is because that's exactly where he really wants to be, whether he'll admit that or not. Each of us must live off the fruit of his thoughts in the future, because what you think today and tomorrow, next month and next year, will mold your life and determine your future. You're guided by your mind. I remember one time I was driving through eastern Arizona, and I saw one of those giant earth-moving machines roaring along the road at about 35 miles an hour with what looked like 30 tons of dirt in it, a tremendous, incredible machine, and there was a little man perched way up on top with the wheel in his hands guiding it.
Fingerprints
And as
closed.
I drove along, I was struck by the similarity of that machine to the human mind. Just suppose you're sitting at the controls of such a vast source of energy. Are you going to sit back and fold your arms and let it run itself into a ditch? Or are you going to keep both hands firmly on the wheel and control and direct this power to a specific, worthwhile purpose? It's up to you. You're in the driver's seat. You see, the very law that gives us success is a two-edged sword. We must control our thinking. The same rule that can lead a man to a life of success, wealth, happiness, and all the things he ever dreamed of for himself and his family. That very same law can lead him into the gutter. It's all in how he uses it, for good or for bad. This is the strangest secret in the world. Now, why do I say it's strange, and why do I call it a secret? Actually, it isn't a secret at all. It was first promulgated by some of the earliest wise men, and it appears again and again throughout the Bible, but very few people have learned it, understand it. That's why it's strange, and why for some equally strange reason it virtually remains a secret. I believe that you could go out and walk down the main street of your town and ask one man after another what the secret of success is, and you probably wouldn't run into one man in a month who could tell you. Now, this information is enormously valuable to us if we really understand it and apply it. It's valuable to us not only for our own lives, but the lives of those around us, our families, employees, associates, and friends. Life should be an exciting adventure. It should never be a bore. A man should live fully, be alive. He should be glad to get out of bed in the morning. He should be doing a job he likes to do because he does it well. One time I heard Grove Patterson, the great late editor-in-chief of the Toledo Daily Blade, make a speech, and as he concluded his speech, he said something I've never forgotten. He said, "My years in the newspaper business have convinced me of several things. Among them, that people are basically good, and that we came from someplace, and we're going someplace. So we should make our time here an exciting adventure. The architect of the universe didn't build a stairway leading nowhere." And the greatest teacher of all, the carpenter from the plains of Galilee, gave us the secret time and time again. As ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. I've explained the strangest secret in the world and how it works. Now, on this side, I want to explain how you can prove to yourself the enormous returns possible in your own life by putting this secret to a practical test. I want you to make a test that will last 30 days. It isn't going to be easy, but if you'll give it a good try, it will completely change your life for the better. Now, back in the 17th century,
watch the volume on that top tip.
Sir Isaac Newton, the English mathematician and natural philosopher, gave us some natural laws of physics which apply as much to human beings as they do to the movement of bodies in the universe. And one of these laws is that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Simply stated, as it applies to you and me, it means we can achieve nothing without paying the price. The results of your 30-day experiment will be in direct proportion to the effort you put forth. To be a doctor, you must pay the price of long years of difficult study. To be successful in selling, and remember that each of us succeeds to the extent of his ability to sell. Selling our families on our ideas, selling education in schools, selling our children on the advantages of living the good and honest life, selling our associates and employees on the importance of being exceptional people. To, of course, the profession of selling itself. But to be successful in selling our way to the good life, we must be willing to pay the price. Now, what is that price? Well, it's many things. First, it's understanding emotionally, as well as intellectually, that we literally become what we think about, that we must control our thoughts if we're to control our lives. It's understanding fully that as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Second, it's cutting away all fetters from the mind and permitting it to soar as it was divinely designed to do. It's the realization that your limitations are self-imposed and that the opportunities for you today are enormous beyond belief. It's rising above narrow-minded pettiness and prejudice. And third, it's using all your courage to force yourself to think positively on your own problem, to set a definite and clearly defined goal for yourself, to let your marvelous mind think about your goal from all possible angles, to let your imagination speculate freely upon many different possible solutions, to refuse to believe
selling
that there
at
are
previous
any
days high.
circumstances sufficiently strong
Be
to
too high.
defeat you in the accomplishment of your purpose, to act promptly and decisively when your course is clear, and to keep constantly aware of the fact that you are, at this moment, standing in the middle of your own acres of diamonds, as Russell Conwell used to point out. And fourth, save at least 10% of every dollar you earn.
Boom.
It's also remembering that no matter what
10%
your
of
present
every
job,
dollar
it
that
has
you earn.
enormous possibilities if you're willing to pay the price. Now let's just go over the important points in the price each of us must pay to achieve the wonderful life that can be ours. It is, of course, worth any price. 1. You will become what you think about. 2. Remember the word imagination and let your mind begin to soar. 3. Courage. Concentrate on your goal every day. 4. Save 10% of what you earn. And 5. Action. Ideas are worthless unless we act on them. Now, I'll try to outline the 30-day
All about that
test
action,
I want
boss.
you to make. Keep in mind that you have nothing to lose by making this test and everything you could possibly want to gain. There are 2 things that may be said of everyone. Each of us wants something, and each of us is afraid of something. I want you to write on a card what it is you want more than anything else. It may be more money. Perhaps you'd like to double your income or make a specific amount of money. It may be a beautiful home. It may be success at your job. It may be a particular position in life. It could be a more harmonious family. Each of us wants something. Now write down on your card specifically what it is you want. Make sure it's a single goal and clearly defined. You needn't show it to anyone, but carry it with you so that you can look at it several times a day. Think about it in a cheerful, relaxed, positive way each morning when you get up. And immediately you have something to work for, something to get out of bed for, something to live for. Look at it every chance you get during the day and just before going to bed at night. And as you look at it, remember that you must become what you think about, and since you're thinking about your goal, you realize that soon it will be yours. In fact, it's yours really the moment you write it down and begin to think about it. Look at the abundance all around you as you go about your daily business. You have as much right to this abundance as any other living creature. It's yours for the asking. Now we come to the difficult part. Difficult because it means the formation of what is probably a brand new habit, and new habits are not easily formed. Once formed, however, it will follow you for the rest of your life. Stop thinking about what it is you fear. Each time a fearful or negative thought comes into your consciousness, replace it with a mental picture of your positive and worthwhile goal. And there will come times when you'll feel like giving up. It's easier for a human being to think negatively than
Then you should be doing some
positively.
squats
That's
with me
why
right now,
only 5%
Double R.
are successful. You must begin now to place yourself in that group. For 30 days, you must take control of your mind. It will think about only what you permit it to think about. Each day for this 30-day test, do more than you have to do. In addition to maintaining a cheerful, positive outlook, give of yourself more than you've ever done before. Do this knowing that your returns in life must be in direct proportion to what you give. The moment you decide on a goal to work toward, you're immediately a successful person. You are then in that rare and successful category of people who know where they're going. Out of every 100 people, you belong to the top 5. Don't concern yourself too much with how you're going to achieve your goal. Leave that completely to a power greater than yourself. All you have to do is know where you're going. The answers will come to you of their own accord and at the right time. Remember these words from the Sermon on the Mount, and remember them well. Keep them constantly before you this month of your test. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For every one that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. It's as marvelous and as simple as that. In fact, it's so simple that in our seemingly complicated world, it's difficult for an adult to understand that all he needs is a purpose and faith. For 30 days, do your very best. If you're a salesman, go at it as you've never done before, not in a hectic fashion, but with the calm, cheerful assurance that time well spent will give you the abundance in return you deserve and want. If you're a homemaker, devote your 30-day test to completely giving of yourself without thinking about receiving anything in return, and you'll be amazed at the difference it makes in your life. No matter what your job, do it as you've never done it before for 30 days. And if you've kept your goal before you every day, you'll wonder and marvel at this new life you've found. Dorothea Brand, the outstanding editor and writer, discovered it for herself and tells about it in her fine book, Wake Up and Live. Her entire philosophy is reduced to the words, act as though it were impossible to fail. She made her own test with sincerity and faith, and her entire life was changed to one of overwhelming success. Now, you make your test for 30 full days. Don't start your test until you've made up your mind to stick with it. You see, by being persistent, you're demonstrating faith. Persistence is simply another word for faith. If you didn't have faith, you'd never persist. If you should fail during your first 30 days, by that I mean suddenly find yourself overwhelmed by negative thoughts, you've got to start over again from that point and go 30 more days. Gradually, your new habit will form until you find yourself one of that wonderful minority to whom virtually nothing is impossible. And don't forget the card. It's vitally important as you begin this new way of living. On one side of the card, write your goal, whatever it may be. On the other side, write the words we've quoted from the Sermon on the Mount. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Nothing great was ever accomplished without inspiration. See that during these crucial first 30 days, your own inspiration is kept at a peak. And above all, don't worry. Worry brings fear, and fear is crippling. The only thing that can cause you to worry during your test is trying to do it all yourself. Know that all you have to do is hold your goal before you. Everything else will take care of itself. Remember also to keep calm and cheerful. Don't let petty things annoy you and get you off course. Now, since making this test is difficult, some will say, why should I bother? Well, look at the
Watch for a
alternative.
pop here if we get the
No
cessation
one
one
wants to
time
be a
frame, and you
failure.
could
No
see
one
them run
really
G
wants to
and
be a
F at the same
mediocre
time.
individual. No one wants a life constantly filled with worry and fear and frustration. Therefore, remember that you must reap that which you sow. If you sow negative thoughts, your life will be filled with negative things. If you sow positive thoughts, your life will be cheerful, successful, and positive. Now, gradually, you will have a tendency to forget what you've heard on this recording. Play it often. Keep reminding yourself of what you must do to form this new habit. Gather your whole family around at regular intervals and listen to what's been said here. You know, most men will tell you that they want to make money without understanding the law. The only people who make money work in a mint. The rest of us must earn money. This is what causes those who keep looking for something for nothing or a free ride to fail in life. The only way to earn money is by providing people with services or products which are needed and useful. We exchange our time and our product or service for the other man's money. Therefore, the law is that our financial return will be in direct proportion to our service. Now, success is not the result of making money. Making money is the result of success, and success is in direct proportion to our service. Most people have this law backwards. They believe that you're successful if you earn a lot of money. The truth is that you can only earn money after you're successful. It's like the story of the man who sat in front of the stove and said to it, "Give me heat, and then I'll add the wood." How many men and women do you know, or do you suppose there are today, who take the same attitude toward life? There are millions. We've got to put the fuel in before we can expect heat. Likewise, we've got to be of service first before we can expect money. Don't concern yourself with the money. Be of service, build, work, dream, create. Do this, and you'll find there's no limit to the prosperity and abundance that will come to you. Prosperity, you know, is founded upon a law of mutual exchange. Any person who contributes to prosperity must prosper in turn himself. Sometimes the return will not come from those you serve, but it must come to you from someplace, because that's the law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. As you go daily through your 30-day test period, remember that your success will always be measured by the quality and quantity of service you render, and money is a yardstick for measuring this service. No man can get rich himself unless he enriches others. Now, there are no exceptions to a law. You can drive down any street in America and from your car estimate the service that's being rendered by the people living on that street. Had you ever thought of this yardstick before? It's interesting. Some, like ministers and priests and other devoted people, measure their returns in the realm of the spiritual, but again, their returns are equal to their service. Once this law is fully understood, any thinking person can tell his own fortune. If he wants more, he must be of more service to those from whom he receives his return. If he wants less, he has only to reduce his service. This is the price you must pay for what you want. If you believe you can enrich yourself by deluding others, you can end only by deluding yourself. It may take some time, but just as surely as you breathe, you'll get back what you put out. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking you can avert this. It's impossible. The prisons and the streets where the lonely walk are filled with people who tried to make new laws just for themselves. We may avoid the laws of man for a while, but there are greater laws that cannot be broken. An outstanding medical doctor recently pointed out 6 steps that will help you realize success. 1. Set yourself a definite goal. 2. Quit running yourself down. 3. Stop thinking of all the reasons why you cannot be successful and instead think of all the reasons why you can.
Yeah, so there's that
4.
pop of both.
Trace your
Kind of
attitudes back
expected
through your
that.
childhood and try to discover where you first got the idea you couldn't be successful, if that's the way you've been thinking. 5. Change the image you have of yourself by writing out a description of the person you would like to be. And 6. Act the part of the successful person you have decided to become. The doctor who wrote those words is a noted West Coast psychiatrist, Dr. David Harold Fink. Do what the experts since the dawn of recorded history have told you must do. Pay the price by becoming the person you want to become. It's not nearly as difficult as living unsuccessfully. Make your 30-day test, then repeat it again, and each time it will become more a part of you until you'll wonder how you could ever have lived any other way. Live this new way and the floodgates of abundance will open and pour over you more riches than you may have dreamed existed. Money? Yes, lots of it. But what's more important, you'll have peace. You'll be in that wonderful minority who lead calm, cheerful, successful lives. Start today. You have nothing to lose, but you have a whole life to win. This is Earl Nightingale, and thank you.
Let's go. If that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what can. And we did push-ups and squats. Let's go. And we broke both those stops.
You're pumping the market up over there, bro.
Let's go. I'm pushing the ground down so the market's going up. Yeah. Woo. Yeah, so I posted that link in the chat, but it's just Earl Nightingale, strangest secret in the world. Right, just like in those lyrics, the mind's the obstacle. The strangest secret that you know.
Yeah, what song was that you were reading?
Oh, I could play the song. Play the song.
What's the name of it? I was
It's called Options Anthem. Options Anthem by Uncle Answers. I'll just play it. Remember, if we get back above that 55 level, you could start to see some bouncing hard. Here we go. Can you hear it?
I got options, bitch, talking like Honda, right to got some shit. I'ma get pushing cars on all my stocks. I has my shit vested in everything from value tested dividends. Living in houses in the hills, my life is different. Businesses, I've been doing that since I was little, yeah. Bigger than that, I'm doing the same thing on the biggest scale. Listen here, I could make $1 million anywhere. This ain't fair, I don't show my face cause I am everywhere. Let me in, you don't gotta like me, but the message ill. This is real, never make investments based on how you feel. Pick a field, but you cannot quit it till you get a deal. Need a will, otherwise you'll waste your time just spinning wheels. I do this opposite shit, they thought it was easy. Like I got here without reading, like I didn't give up sleeping. Tell me what the fuck's a weekend, tell me what the fuck's your reason for this dream. You keep on dreaming, it's gonna leave if you don't lead it, huh? Got $1 in a dream, I need a couple cents. I'ma go and sell some cream, pay my mama's rent. But I bought that shit, watch me call the top and shit. I'm confident the cycle ends, and when it does, I'll buy the dip, and then I get a nicer whip. The guy disliking all my vids will probably be a lot more pissed, but I'm just gonna pray he blessed. Wish I had time to hate this shit. I'm busy chasing greatnessness. I'm trading when the fade begins and selling when they don't kick it. I be talking options, I got lots of those in life. I could get you started, but I can't teach you to drive. I turn on my monitors and swear I come alive. Cash is always liquid, always dripping, never dry. I got options, bitch, talking like Honda, right there, got some shit. I'ma get pushing cars on all my stocks. I hedge my shit, vested in everything from value tech to dividends. Living in houses in the hills, my life is different. Businesses, I've been doing that since I was little, yeah. Bigger than that, I'm doing the same thing on the biggest scale. Listen here, I could make $1 million anywhere. This ain't fair, I don't show my face cause I am everywhere. Let me in, you don't gotta like me, but the message ill. This is real, never make investments based on how you feel. Pick a field, but you gotta get it till you get a deal. This is real. Yeah, pray for all of y'all. I hope you never lose your goals. The mock is valid, don't be afraid to take it slow. This has it possible to make the money if you broke. And mine's the obstacle, the strange secret that you know. Adaptable, I had to go DiCaprio, plain as the wolf, subtract the host, but add some dough. The rooster didn't come to roast, about to cope, but back with folks, it's rapid growth. I have a coat, I have a rose, I have some homes, I have to go contractual. Selling those, but not my soul. I sell the clothes to buy some more. I'm with my bros, divide the dough, my high and low, my favorite hoe. I hit it when she drop it low. I'm never at the cop it close. Only buy options as homes. You don't got those, leave me alone.
That was it right there. So good.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, this day is starting to really look like that day you showed earlier. That was a couple days ago.
Yeah, it is. We'll see if we get like this little H pop and then that break. That's great. But that this one put a poor, or didn't put in a poor low. I think we have a poor low right here. Yeah, it does look similar though. And if we get above that 45, there should be a decent amount of short covering. Remember, this E high is mechanical, the D high is mechanical. It's right on the open, so it would make sense to peak above here, and then maybe some sellers come back in. But as far as responsive selling, I don't really see them going to be active until they get up here. Yeah, of course, Double R. I'm glad you liked it. Sebastian Fire. Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's not my song, but Fire. Okay. If they hold the, what were we looking at earlier? 48.50. If there's a pullback, look for that 48.50 to be bought up. But it kind of looks like they're just holding it here. Got that half back right above too, and so they might be selling half back today. We've seen a lot of mechanical selling going on, so it would make sense that half back is right 55.50, where we saw kind of that last sell off, where the sell off in E started, was right there. So kind of makes sense. We pop above that. Pay attention, there's low volume right there too, because that liquidation happened right there. Up with Nasdaq's bouncing back too. It's only down 1.5%. ES down 1%. Oil's climbing up about 0.25%. Bonds down. Apple's still down about 1.5% as well. So yeah, watch this 52 level. Seeing some buyers kind of try to hold here. Really, this is more of a dangerous spot to be getting in a trade than anything, just because we don't really have any clues here, right? We're not close to anything. We're just right in the middle of value. And that 52 happens to be the half back of E, it looks like. So they could just be buying right off that half back of E. Pretty visual reference for us, at least. Otto, what's up, man? I'm good. How are you? Horn's finally coming back a little bit. See if they can push through it. There we go. Watch this low volume area to see if it hangs, and it's kind of hanging right here. There's the retrace. So look for buyers to step back in and get back into that low volume area and watch for the volume area to fill in. If the volume area doesn't fill in, then we're seeing that these longs are just liquidating up there, and that selling is just long selling. But if we can hang right there, then we've got initiated buying coming in, buying above. I mean, buying point of control, but buying above where the meat of the volume's at and filling this in, that could take us to these upper levels. You're seeing, I mean, you're seeing good rise right here, but we get this continuation. Still, that 55.50 is acting as a big level where these sellers are trying to be active. You hit a 50-point NQ trade? Damn. Nice. Good stuff. Stop and buy for quality entertainment. This is the place to be. How are you like trading? How do you like trading the Nasdaq? Fed Daily just said that the China lockdowns are bad for supply. You like it? It's fast. Set your goals and early, or hit your stop loss. Hopefully, you hit your goals more than you hit your stop loss. But that's good. It seems like you've been doing pretty well lately too. Whoops. Yeah, daily China lockdowns are really bad for supply chains, it's saying. Watch the volume up here. You can see that they're getting in here. It's just hard to tell who's going to be more active, right? We do have mechanical references up here. So if we get close to these references, we kind of expect them to be given up easily. Maybe some good response um, off of today's halfback, because this halfback is yesterday's, off of today's halfback and the open. Damn, some big orders coming through right now. Big sell orders hitting the bid. Buyers are holding. Yeah, I guess China's on lockdown because of COVID. Where were we looking at? 52.50, 52.75 to see where these buyers are at on this pullback. 50 points profit or 15 stop loss. Pretty good. You get some opportunities on the Nasdaq too. You just got to be careful with the timing. The timing is so important on the Nasdaq because it doesn't really. It's very whippy because of the low liquidity. Starting to see a lot of selling in the weighted sectors again here. But no price advancement to the downside yet. They're trying though. Watch that 52 level. 52.50 to 52 is where looks like they tried to come in last time. We don't have a gap, but we do have a inventory open possibility gap. Oh yeah, no. Overnight inventory you can look to get corrected even if there is no gap. Yeah. Like we had the close here. Overnight inventory was pretty much 100% short. Open was here. They corrected that inventory and then started selling. No gap. But it's not, it depends. So what you want to pay attention to is if you have overnight inventory net short or net long, let's say, either or, what you're looking for is the immediate correction, right? Because let's say if the opened up and it just kind of did a little fizzle, especially when we have a really prominent point of control from overnight, did a little fizzle, that's kind of telling you that these sellers are a little bit strong in this case because overnight inventory is short, that these sellers were a little bit stronger, but it just corrected them right away. So that let us know that they were pretty weak. And it still, to me, kind of looks like most of this was just But I mean, it kind of looks like, if we look at this, it almost looks opposite of this. Kind of looks opposite. You know what I mean? Microsoft. Biden's about to be on the news too. Trying to invert the picture, but I mean, you can kind of see. What happened? Um, Trying to invert the picture. Oh, there we go. I don't know if we can. So you can see here. I mean, we're comparing it. This is this profile here. I just put it over here and then flipped it. Right. Why we have that. Looks like a Y, but it's an A. It's just upside down. But it comes down. H rotates. It's at cessation of one time framing, and then it continued. I mean, in this case, up. But I mean, it looks very similar to this profile here. Pull back, push down, right? Oh yeah, Obama's going to be on too with Biden today. Exactly, yeah, exactly, Otto. So you look for it to fail, or you look for it to correct, and if it doesn't do either, um, like if it doesn't correct, then it's just hanging out. Just remember that above it, you still have those weak hands, right? So just because it doesn't fail, and we got some initiated selling below it, doesn't necessarily mean that they can't correct it later, and those people are more likely to give it up before then. Fed's Daily said, I'm not expecting that we'll fall into a recession. That could be positive news. take a peek at around the market real quick as well. As far as the ES goes, you can still see that people are still selling puts, which is interesting. You can see the volume still not even over 1 million. The dollar's catching a little bit of a pump today. Bitcoin, we know, is getting a little bit of an up. Gold's coming down. The Nasdaq's down 1.7 now. Russell's down 1.5. The Dow's only down 0.11. So the Dow's even above the ES. Apple's still down. The VIX is up 7%, up above 20, but just barely above 20. And oil is starting to come back down as well. If I could find oil, there it is. It was up a little bit more, starting to come back down now. Take a peek at these yellow. A lot of puts being sold on oil too, so people are still expecting oil to go up. But a lot of calls, yeah. So people are selling puts and buying calls on oil, so kind of expect it to go up. Chart still holding that low down there. See how sporadic oil's been. It's been kind of insane. If we go to Flex Grid, you can kind of see the selling here. Here's that big move on the big move up on the tick. The selling here, even though it is coming more, we're still having a little bit of a uptrend as far as people buying dips, right? So far. See that?
Hey Brad, I got something for you.
Okay.
Okay, I was thinking about putting this in my trade journal. Okay, so whenever you move your stop loss basically into profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about making a new trade rule that once it hits my stop loss and I get stopped out, rather even if it's in profit, to still wait 10, 15 more minutes at least before you enter another trade, because you're so instinctively wanting to get back in, right after it hit your stop loss, because you're like, damn, it's still going in the direction I thought it was going to go, or it's reversing or whatever, and you want to get back into it.
Right.
What do you think?
I mean, I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's good to set yourself limits, especially if that is something that you're noticing, that's something that you struggle with. It's good, and writing it down is only going to help you. So I think
Okay.
it's a great thing to put in there.
Like that tweet I shared in the group where the guy like pulled the sheep out of the ditch and like as soon as it got out, like
Oh
launched out
yeah,
and back in.
yeah. Did you see that, Jared, in the Discord? Let me see.
Wait, what?
Let me see if I can find it. TJ posted it. Was it in the general chat?
Yeah, I think so.
Let me find it.
That was so funny to me. I'm
That
like,
shit was
that's
funny. Oh,
exactly.
here it is. Here it is. How do I open it up on? How do I open it up like a? Here we go.
You just drag it over?
On Twitter. It's on Twitter. When you finally get out of a bad trade and immediately enter another one. Whoop.
That's so funny.
Oh yeah, I watched it probably
yeah,
like 5 or 6 times. It is so funny.
That's
It's like,
great.
Guy's like, God damn it, stupid fucking goat. Deep, whatever the stupid thing is.
I'm the goat.
Oh,
Brad's Brad's the guy pulling me out all the time.
yeah. Here, knock it off. You're like, bro, there's shit down there. I'm telling you, come on.
I'm like, Brad, I'm telling you, 25 lots is the ticket right here. It's going down. That's great.
If Bitcoin gets back above the weekly VWAP, I think I might try along on it if the market starts to show a little bit of strength. We had another level here that's 44 or 45, right? 44, 45, 45 was that previous high. There was a lot of buying that, or a lot of selling off of it initially, then a lot of buying off of it. So let's look for a reaction here and see if they buy it again. If not, I think that will probably end up trying to push for the low again. And if you look at that eye high, it's pretty mechanical. It's yesterday's value area low. All right, or one tick, but pretty close. Sellers are trying to absorb down here. If they get taken up above that 48.50 again, then you'll probably see a ride back up. But that's probably where they're going to be trying to hold this thing under. They're targeting that 44.50 or 45, yeah, 455 level. You're getting some pretty strong selling here in the tick too. Bit of buying actually coming in way down. But the weighted sectors are getting punished right here. Apple's back down to a point and three quarters. Amazon's down 2%. Tesla's down 4%. Nvidia's down 4.5%. Right, those are the kind of four that we were looking at. They're all getting a smackarooski right now. So see if they get a little buying in them, bring them back to life, and then the market can bounce. But if not, then we'll be targeting that low of yesterday. Try to fix that poor low. A little bit of buying right there, front running that previous day's low. How long do we got? 10 minutes till the next bar opens up. 1 minute. That's in the army when you're doing your 2 minutes of push-ups and 2 minutes of sit-ups. You hit the 1 minute, they go 1 minute. You're like, damn it, it's still a minute. So there's that 45, 44.50 level. Let's see for the reaction. Kind of hanging out right here. Not really a buying response that you'd want to see, right? You'd want to see them you'd want to see shorts start to cover right here and buyers step in, but we're just not really seeing that yet. Pretty weak, pretty weak selling kind of, at least hitting the bid. Like sellers moving down is not very strong. There we go. Strength there. Yeah, it's still not moving down in size yet. Like they're dipping their toe in the water to find out if it's cold in here. Go for a cannonball. Selling's coming back in.
All right, Brad. Guess how many lots I got on the short right now?
2.
1.
Uh-huh. Where'd you get short at?
uh, 54.
Oh, okay. So you're chilling.
It was so hard not to put on 10. Won't lie. Trying to follow rules here.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing too. One thing I always harp on Jared, I don't know if you guys do it, when you guys do switch to the sim, you know, so let's say you're trading but you're having a bad day, you switch to the sim, don't think that don't get on the sim and just start fucking becoming Doc Holliday and just shooting shots everywhere or putting on this crazy size because, you know, you're gonna play how you practice, right? So not everybody has the amazing shot like Steph Curry to just do all these circuit shots. Some of us need to maintain our form and shoot shots like Klay Thompson, right? Same form all the time. Sometimes they don't go in, sometimes they do go in, but he's got one of the purest shots in the NBA, and that's what we're after here, consistency. So if you switch to a sim and start just firing all these knuckleballs, it's not going to help you when you go back to your regular account. That's one thing that I harp on Jared. So if you get on the sim and start putting on 10 contracts, you're going to be more than likely to put on 10 contracts on your regular account too, and that's uh not always ideal if they're in the wrong spot. I remember hindsight's 2020, you hit a trade with 1 lot and you're like, "Damn, I should have had 10 lots," but imagine if it went the other way and you had 10 lots, you know?
Then
And
you're
I
wishing
trade
you had 1 lot on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like I was saying yesterday, I only traded 26 lots total yesterday. And we didn't get a lot of movement yesterday, but I just was able to put them in the right spot and, um, you know, finish on a pretty decent day. Oh, here comes Obama and Joe Biden. See if I can find him on YouTube.
It's 11:45.
Oh, this shit just breaking my fucking
President
eardrum.
Biden, President Obama, members of Congress, and my fellow Americans. On March 23, 2010, the Affordable Care Act was signed into law. In the 12 years since, the ACA has delivered high-quality, affordable health care to more than 30 million Americans. Yes. And those Americans are working parents and young children, college students, and older Americans. Millions of people who had never been
The upside was just a correction of inventory.
or who had been denied coverage
We had
altogether,
some late
because of
momentum
a category of denial,
shorters that got a little bit too short down here in this F and G, and then ended up getting their stops ran up here, but big short covering. No initiated buying up here above
or
volume.
even asthma.
And then even this downside
The
is not
ACA is
not
the
really a ton of
first
selling. It's just no
principle
buying and liquidation from the
healthcare
buyers, the late
legislation
momentum buyers that are
passed
buying
in
up here at the top.
generations in our country.
Because there's probably a lot of people long from like 55, I bet.
And it is something more. The ACA is a statement of purpose, a statement about the nation we must be, where all people, no matter who they are, where they live, or how much they earn, can access the health care they need, no matter the cost. You know, when I served as Attorney General of California, it was that purpose that led our office and 10 other state attorneys general to submit a brief to the United States Supreme Court in defense of the ACA, and it is that purpose that brings us all together today, to continue to expand affordable health care and its coverage to families across our nation, and to call on Congress to take action, to pass legislation that simply allows Medicare to directly negotiate prescription drug prices with pharmaceutical companies. And if there's any question why, I'll explain.
A lot of volume
More
coming
than
in down here, guys.
60 million Americans are enrolled in Medicare. That would give Medicare significant bargaining power to negotiate prices for all those Americans. So instead of forcing individual patients to negotiate by themselves, to require them to pay whatever price the drug companies set, they would have that kind of representation to stand there with their fellow Americans and negotiate those prices so that they would just simply be fair.
30-year fixed mortgage is up above 5% for the first time since 2011.
The ACA subsidies that are included in the American Rescue Plan. Subsidies that are currently lowering insurance premiums for millions of Americans, and which are set to expire in December. And more must be done. Currently, there are 12 states in our nation that refuse to expand Medicaid for no reason other than petty partisan obstruction. As a result, 4 million people in our country are locked out of coverage. And that comes at a cost. For example, women who do not have health care coverage and are therefore less likely to have access during pregnancy or before or after to pelvic exams or vaccinations, prenatal checkups, postpartum, depression screenings, and all the other essential care they need.
Couple sellers trapped here at the 37.50,
before,
looks like.
during, and after birth. We know that expanding Medicaid
Saw that big volume increase, and now we're above it. So the longer we stay above it, the better odds that we start to bounce. But look for them to trade back down to it. 37.50, and get below it.
So the sooner coverage is expanded in those 12 states, the more lives we will save. Protecting the health and well-being of the people of our nation should not be a partisan issue. Every person in our nation should be able to access and afford the health care they need to thrive, not as a privilege, but as a right. And that is why our administration will continue to use every tool at our disposal to strengthen the ACA. And with that, it is now my great pleasure to introduce the man whose vision and leadership led us to this day, whose unwavering commitment to the people of our nation laid the foundation for this groundbreaking legislation. A leader who showed us the way forward on this important issue. Please welcome President Barack Obama.
Man, the myth right here. One of the best public speakers in the whole world.
Thank you very much.
All right, Papa, see you later.
Thank you, everybody. Have a seat. Have a seat. Thank you. Vice President Biden, Vice President. That was a joke.
He's still got a sense of humor.
That was all set up. My president, Joe Biden. Vice President Harris. Our dear friend, Madam Speaker, Nancy Pelosi. All the members of Congress who are in attendance today, the members of Cabinet. It is good to be back in the White House.
This thing either looks like it's gonna rip up or puke low, so be careful here.
I confess,
It's a weird spot here.
changes have been made by the current president.
Dude, call me
since I was
crazy,
last
but I
year.
think we're going down.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a good possibility. That prior day lows at 32.75, so if it breaks, that'll be the first target.
The Navy mess.
A lot of
being
selling
replaced
right
by
here.
Baskin-Robbins.
There it is.
And there's a cat running around, which I guarantee.
Look for that prior day
Market's
low,
been very unhappy.
32.
But coming back, even if I have to wear a tie, which I very rarely do these days, gives me a chance to visit with some of the incredible people who serve this White House. And
Remember, that was
serve
from
this
39, that level.
a lot
Mark
of
that
people have
level.
a
So
lot
if it
of
gets
light.
back above 39, just be careful.
They make this government function, and they help people in ways big and small. And from the outside, sometimes people don't understand just how grueling this is and how many sacrifices people make. Because those of us who are in front of the cameras oftentimes get the credit. But it's a lot of people who are devoted day in, day out to making this country better that matter, and a lot of them are represented here. And that's not just in the West Wing, by the way. It's also in the residence. There were a lot of people who looked after our families that I will always be grateful to. So it's wonderful to be back to say thank you to all of you. But most of all, coming back here gives me a chance to say thank you and spend some time with an extraordinary friend and partner who was by my side for 8 years. And Joe Biden and I did a lot together. We helped save the global economy, made record investments in clean energy. We put guardrails on our financial system. We helped.
There's still that big lot
around,
sitting on the 33, 896 slots.
but nothing
That prior day
made
low.
me prouder than providing better.
Just watch here. If you're short, just keep your stop close to the 39. If we get above that 39, it might get a little paparooski. Only 5 minutes left in this session though, so.
So when President Biden said he was not going to just celebrate the ACA, but also announce actions that would make it even better, I had to show up.
So well spoken.
Well documented just how difficult it was to pass the ACA. You can get a lot of testimony here in case folks haven't heard. You know, as a country, we have been talking about reforming healthcare for 100 years. Unlike almost every other advanced economy on earth, we didn't have a system that guaranteed access to healthcare for all of its citizens. Millions of people didn't have health insurance, often because their employers didn't provide it or because it was too expensive.
This level here.
But despite the fact that our healthcare system didn't work well, it was hard to change. Healthcare represents about 1/5 of our economy. That's trillions of dollars that are involved. So there were a lot of different economic interests that were vying
Where they
to
sold it
maintain the
before. So look to
status
see if they sell it again or if they give it up. If they give it up, it'll probably run up to that 42 quarter,
Some people
maybe
believe that they
44-ish
chose
level,
what they
42 to
had.
44. So I think
Media
that's what was our level
skeptical as
earlier.
failures. There was a lot of misinformation, to say
Oh,
the
it was
least,
40.
flying around.
Yeah, it was 41.
And it's fair to say that most Republicans showed little interest in working with us to get anything done. That's fair to say. But despite great odds, Joe and I were determined. Because we'd met too many people on the campaign trail who'd shared their stories.
A little bit of short covering here.
Had been touched by illness. And as I said to our dear friend Harry Reid, who is missed, wished he was here today, because he took great pride in what we did. I intended to get health care passed, even if it cost me re-election, which for a while looked like it might. But for all of us, for Joe, for Harry, for Nancy Pelosi, for others,
Did he call Kamala Harris Harry?
of why you run for office in the first place, why all of you sign up for doing jobs that pay you less than you could make someplace else, why you're away from home sometimes and you miss some soccer practices or some dance recitals.
41 still acting as that resistance here.
To do this just to occupy a seat or to hang on to.
There's a fairly big size order sitting on the 42 quarter to 382 lots.
A difference in the lives of the people.
And another one sitting up on the 50, 238 lots.
Including a lot
Anything
of
else
people who
besides that?
made enormous sacrifices. Because members of Congress took courageous votes, including some who knew that their vote would likely cost them their seat. Because of the incredible leadership of Nancy and Harry, we got the ACA across the finish line together. And the night we passed the ACA, I've said it before, it was a high point of my time here because it reminded me and it reminded us of what is possible. But, of course, our work was not finished. Republicans tried to repeal what we had done again and again and again. And they filed lawsuits that went all the way to the Supreme Court 3 times. I see Don Marilla here who had to
Watch the reaction off the 42 quarter. That's where all those. That's where the big trades are sitting at. Big offers.
They tried explicitly to make it harder for people to sign up for coverage. And let's face it, it didn't help that when we first rolled out the ACA, the website didn't work.
He's not really saying anything going to affect the market. He's just talking about healthcare. So. Yeah, the clapping is a lot. Yeah, kind of making me headache too hard. I mean, he's funny, but like, let him say what he wants to say.
Dude, I won't even lie, Brad. Have you seen those videos that like compare him to Trump? That was so funny on like how they speak.
I haven't.
Oh my god, dude, that video is probably one of the funniest videos I've ever seen. Where it's just like Obama, he's like so professional. He's like, we captured, Saddam Hussein, a team of highly trained Navy SEALs, blah blah, and then they go to like Trump, and then he's like, what does he say? He's like, Abu Ghatar is dead. He's like, he died like a dog.
Oh, he's just a.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, when they killed that. Was like the Iranian. He was like an Iranian war criminal or something.
Yeah. He's just like so. Dude, I miss him, dude. He was so funny.
It'd be funny if he gets his Twitter account back. That'll be fun.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. He died like a dog.
So that order sitting on the 42 quarter is still there. 405 lots now. So it's growing. Well, it is 11 o'clock. We've gone a little bit longer than we normally do. But the market's starting to chill out. You know, what we're expecting. That prior day low is so close. I kind of feel like that they just want it so bad that they might just give it a nice little taparooski. I still like them to come down here, and I expect maybe some some responsive buying to happen down here. So could get an up move from there. If not, we've seen this 15 and 13 level act as some support. Typically, we'll look at the daily chart for this because it'll just make it easier. Typically, when we're looking at this, you know, you can see we're starting to form a little bit of a balance. But what this looks like to me, we have people positioning themselves normally 2 days before the Fed meeting. So here's one, here's two. Fed meetings tomorrow. What does it say? That they were just buying dips yesterday, buying dips. So maybe whatever the Fed says, you know, when the minutes come out, this is kind of that level. If we get a break, you're going to probably see it head straight to that 2-month high. And if it breaks low, probably below this low here, you're going to get a pretty decent amount of liquidation, probably back down to that 4,400, I think. And I mean, it could move. We've seen this before, right? Look at this and this. Open up, you know, down here, shot down, and then shot right back up. So that's kind of what we're looking for. So far today, not really the greatest V bounce in the whole world, right? We can see, I mean, we had this move down, kind of hung out, recovered, down, hung out, recovered, down, popped, down, popped, down, popped, right? Little balance areas all over the place. But nothing insane. And even today with this downside, we still, I mean, you can still say that this is a B profile, right? We've got a little bit of excess on the bottom now. Looks like we're, you know, maybe get some continuation in J period, but still a B profile. So this is still mostly just liquidations from the previous day where everybody got long. That's why I'm watching that third day, this day here. Oh, come on over. This day right here to see if it's going to hold. Right, we have that 200 SMA down there too. So, you know, there's buying opportunity down there. So if responsive buyers are going to show up and this thing does get a big liquidation break, that's probably where they're going to be at. All right, Chin, have a good day. But yeah, other than that, I appreciate everybody that watched. If you're watching on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, you know, thanks for hanging out. Make sure to come back tomorrow. We'll be doing this every single day around 8:30 Pacific time. Trading fast and slow, futures and crypto, how to understand the market. Thanks, Jamie. Make sure you guys are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. If you don't have a trade plan, don't trade. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. If you need anything, hit me up in the Discord. I'll be around. Don't really have anything going on today because I actually got all my shit done yesterday. Tomorrow I actually do have some bad news because I am going to have a doctor's appointment at 11. I'm trying to look it up right now. Oh, Fed member Williams is speaking right now too. I just don't know where it's at. Let me look at tomorrow. We get the mortgage finance reports tomorrow morning early, 4 a.m. Parker speaks. When's the minutes come out? Oh, there they are. Fed minutes come out at 11. So I actually won't be here when they come out, unfortunately. I'll definitely leave the Zoom open and everything, and you guys can kind of take over. And then when I get back, actually, I don't even know if I'll be back in time, but we'll try to position ourselves correctly before that sets up. All right, Double R. See you guys tomorrow. You guys have a wonderful day. And yeah.